Sometimes to find new and exciting places in the wilderness, you just have to look at a map or aerial photos and take a chance on something that looks interesting, with no guarantees of success. This was one such excursion into some low desert hills in Tunisia, where I spent 2 days exploring and finding hidden chambers, buried natural treasures, and was stalked in the night by wild animals, the identity of which I didn't figure out until getting home and doing some research.
I'm Fergus, and this is the middle of nowhere. Welcome back to the desert. If you were watching last time, you saw me in the sand dunes in the south of Tunisia. Well, now I am a little bit further north, but although I'm beyond the edge of the sand dunes, I'm still very much in the Sahara. And I've come to look at these relatively low hills because they looked pretty interesting on Google Maps, and they fit the several criteria which I think are important for my videos and for me to find a place interesting to explore. That is that it is uninhabited, that it is mostly natural, so it's not completely trashed, and that it's visually interesting. And it's certainly visually interesting from the Google satellite view, but from what I can see now, it's also geologically interesting. The rocks look nice, and there are some very interesting hills to climb around this area. So I figured I'll come in here, spend one night under the stars now that the rain has stopped. Last time it was absolutely hammering it down with rain in the Sahara, and just enjoy being out in the middle of nowhere. I'm going to go this way. I honestly can't tell you what I'm going to find in this area. I'm here because it looked interesting on Google Maps from above. There were no surface level photographs. There's nothing written about it. There are no walking trails, which is what makes it interesting, because I don't know what I'm going to find.
That looks like something that was built by a wasp, maybe. A solitary wasp. There's the remains of a bird's nest over there. I've never lost that drive from childhood to look inside the crooks and nannies in order to see what's there. What's inside the cave. Looks a bit more fragile here. I get a real kick out of looking in little caves and cavelets that probably nobody pays much attention to, ever.
This place is geologically stunning. You see these ripples, you can see just gentle ripples on these flat slabs. I've seen these before, you can see them on the rocks back there. These are fossilized ripples that were formed underwater. So you know the way if you walk into a shallow section of the sea or a lake, the waves lapping up along the shore and under the water will form ripples. And as sediment buries one layer of ripples, eventually when that sediment cements together into a solid rock, ends up breaking at the point of the ripples. So you can see it millions of years later, and you can really see that it's laid down layer by layer, because the way it's fallen down here, I'm assuming that the older layers are at the bottom, and then as sediment comes down, it goes up. That's usually the case unless some geological event has turned it over. So the oldest ripples would be here, and then a few 100,000 or a few million years later, you'd get another layer here, and then same kind of similar amount of time, eons of time, you get another layer here, and so on and so forth. And in between there are other layers. I mean, this rock is just breaking really, really easily. And then also, I keep finding these things. These translucent things are gypsum crystals. Gypsum is everywhere. It's a mineral which is fairly common in deserts, and you sometimes get it in caves as well, which, because it's water soluble, it can make really, really cool formations. Here we've got a very impressive little miniature landscape of individual crystals interlocking like teeth that come together in perfect alignment. It's really, really beautiful. In other places you get sheets of the stuff. This is gypsum, and that's just in a single sheet. And then over here, there's a bit which is not so translucent. That one is more white. But it's just, I mean, just look around me. The soil is multicolored. The rocks are multicolored. It's a whole geological wonderland here. This is real flash flood territory. I reckon we got all the rain a couple of days ago, which is still here in the puddles. There would have been quite a torrent coming down here before seeping into the soil. I keep putting my cameras away, intending to find a place to camp because I'm getting tired and hungry, but I keep finding cool stuff. Look at this. I gotta have a look in here. I've also got to look everywhere that I put my hands, because this is the sort of place where snakes like to hang out. Well, that's disconcerting. I can't tell if what I just heard are wolves or feral dogs. More than likely they're feral dogs, because there are a lot of feral dogs. They're very common. They don't have the controllers that stop them from running wild that they do in Europe. And I've seen a couple myself on the side of the road, whereas I don't know if there are any wolves here. Still a bit disconcerting, because that was only within a few hundred meters, and another one or two further away answering the call, howling at the moon. It's a really nice night, and it's not that cold. And looking at the sky is actually one of the joys of the desert. And tonight we've got several of the brightest planets visible. Venus is just behind the tent, the brightest planet in the sky, an absolute hellhole. Then we've got Jupiter almost directly overhead, and right next to the moon is Mars. I am a big fan of space exploration. To me, terrestrial exploration and exploration of other places in the universe are equally interesting. They're all wildernesses. I'm fascinated by wildernesses, and particularly when I'm in a desert environment and I look up and I see Mars, and Mars is particularly close at the moment, so it's easy to see. The similarities between some of the landscapes on Mars and some deserts on Earth are absolutely fascinating to think about. It makes another planet quite relatable, in my opinion. Actually, a really good example, when I was showing you those fossilized underwater ripples on the ancient sediments earlier on, the Curiosity rover, which landed on Mars, 13 years ago now, photographed the same kinds of ripples in Gale Crater on Mars a couple of years ago, which is absolutely astounding and proves that there was a stable body of water, a large stable body of water there for a long period, long enough to form and fossilize those kinds of ripples. It's absolutely fascinating. Anyway, I am off on a tangent. I have some wild animals nearby. I'm not particularly alarmed. It's not my first time camping in wild animal territory. I have had bears sniffing around my tent before in the USA. I woke up in Zambia on one of my early wilderness trips to find the paw prints of a large cat, which someone afterwards said that was probably a leopard, just a few meters from the tent, which weren't there the night before. And there are a couple of other examples as well. So feral dogs, I'm not particularly alarmed about. I'm pretty sure that wasn't wolves. It's awfully high-pitched, but we'll see. Actually, we probably won't see anything. Anyway, I'll keep you updated if anything happens. Otherwise, see you in the morning. Morning, ladies and gents. I'm still here. I haven't been torn to pieces and feasted upon by a pack of wild hounds. I did hear, or at least I think I heard, something walking around the tent in the night. It actually woke me up. And it sounded like it was digging and throwing bits of dirt on the side of the tent, which then fell off. I'll have a look shortly. But that was about it. Oh, I could keep sleeping.
but the sun's getting higher and the tent is getting hotter inside.
I just wanted to quickly interject here to say thanks to everyone for watching my video and my other videos if you're a regular viewer. If you're relatively new to the channel, consider going back and having a look at some of my earlier videos. There are quite a few now from overseas and a whole load from the Scottish Highlands, which is where I'm based. I am absolutely passionate about making these videos, and it's your watching that makes it all worthwhile. If you're not a subscriber already, please consider hitting that subscriber button and then you'll get regular updates for when I post something new. If you know anybody who's interested in this sort of content, then please use the share button and share this video or the channel in general, and then it will help me to grow it. I find the process of making these videos and have people appreciate them to be massively rewarding, and I'm very much hoping to be able to keep doing it in perpetuity. Making that financially self-sustaining will make that process much more likely without the need for sponsors. So if you're a regular viewer and you can afford it, please consider donating a couple of quid via the Buy Me a Coffee icon below in the description. It would be greatly appreciated. There won't be any special content or exclusive content available only to people that pay, but it would be greatly appreciated. So thanks for listening. On with the show.
Whoa, look at this. That is huge. It's a massive, massive chunk of gypsum crystals all stuck together, interlocking. Oh God, if I could, I would pack that away and take it home. That is amazing. Donate it to a museum. If anybody who is watching has anything to do with geological museums and wants to know where this is, get in touch with me and I will send you the exact coordinates, because this is stunning. If you cleaned this up, just washed away all the mud off it, it would be absolutely beautiful. That one's not bad either, that one there, but it's still too big to take home in my hand luggage. And there's bits of it all over the place here. Absolutely stunning. Oh, that's exciting. That's just cool. That has made my day. This is amazing up here. Absolutely amazing. What a extraordinary unvisited spot. I can really see the structure of the overall geological formation over here now. Just all of this, the way that the entire landscape has been compressed sideways at some point in prehistory and pushed upwards like this. All those layers that you can see, one over the other, filled with gypsum salts. And because it's kind of an oval-shaped geological ring of concentric ridges, I can see out to the north, out to the south, the flat plains, and all of the parallel ranges that are across the plains, kind of mirroring this one. Look at those hills in the distance, making one of those ridges like a long set of jagged teeth. All of these white rocks are made of gypsum. It's less pure and less clear, but it's the same stuff predominantly. Absolutely beautiful. No sign of human visitation anytime recently. I am standing on top of a cliff. Because these rocks are so crumbly, I am not going to go right to the edge. Some of them are overhanging and I can't tell which are without walking out onto them. So I'm going to stay safe. But this is what I do it for. This is the reward that I didn't know I was going to get. That's it from the desert, folks. I am now on my way back to the car and finishing up. This camp, this area, this little exploration has way exceeded my expectations. It looked interesting when I looked at the aerial photography online, but I never anticipated that there would be so much treasure, literally treasure, just buried in the soil, in the rocks, all over the ground, as well as interesting scenery. I did see some pretty large paw prints from a canine or a feline as I've been walking back down the big riverbed here on my way to the gap in the hills which leads out of this range of mountains. So I can't tell you now. Well, I can tell you now because I'll put it on the screen when I have had the chance to look up whether there are wild wolves living in the desert in this area. So that would be interesting to at least know that I might have been stalked by the wolves last night without my knowing it. Anyway, the next video is going to be back in Scotland, and it's going to be covering a topic which is quite meaningful for me because next weekend is the 5th anniversary of when the UK went into its first lockdown. It was quite a traumatic time for me, and it had a lot of consequences, at least in those initial weeks, even for going out for normal walks in the wilds. And I was in a very difficult period in my life at the time, so I'll tell you my story and go somewhere relevant in order to tell it. But in the meantime, I am going to say sayonara from the desert. And don't forget, thumbs up, subscribe, share, and be safe. Take it easy for now.